What a guan, people. So I just put out a video on my main channel about the Roadman subculture, right, which is this gangster subculture in the UK, and I wanted to tell my story here as the first video on my second channel of the time I spent a year with Roadmen. Now, if you look at me, you probably don't think I'm road, and you would be correct. I'm not from the ends. I don't shop drawers. I am pretty definitively middle class. And so I ended up spending a year every day with Roadmen. And the way this all come about, let's set the scene, okay? So I was 18 years old. I've just been kicked out of college because, I am sometimes a bad man. And I got kicked out of college and I was sort of in this position of, what do I do with my life? I'm on job seekers allowance. I'm getting £36 a week to basically buy weed and a bus ticket so I can go back to job seekers and do the whole thing again. My sister saw this and she was like, Jimmy, you need a job. Sort yourself out. So she got me on a IT apprenticeship. I go to this apprenticeship, right, and it is based in the town of Luton. Now, Luton is a controversial place to say the least. It is the home of Tristan and Andrew Tate, which is actually the least controversial part of Luton. It's also home to the EDL, Tommy Robinson, so like these right-wing nationalist groups. They were kind of warring with the extreme Islamist groups that were in the area. Terrorists apparently come from Luton. It's a pretty crazy place of very different cultures. And that is kind of the bedrock of this story, is the fact that when I went onto this IT apprenticeship, I walk in there and I'm expecting this to be a standard job, right? I walk in and we're in this sort of ugly building and we walk down the stairs and there's like a foyer area where there's a bunch of people. There's probably 15 people in this room. And there, no one is saying a word. No one's talking. No one's looking at anyone. Other than a small group of probably, I want to say five Muslim guys that are speaking their own language. They know each other previously. The rest are an assortment of characters where you have roadmen, and I'm talking full North Face, full Adidas tracksuits, Air Force Ones, headphones in, listening to probably gigs. It was strange. I didn't expect this. I walk in and I'm dressed in a full suit, tie, shirt, blazer. Dickhead, I look like. I walk in and I'm looking at everyone and I'm like, okay, this isn't what I anticipated. As time passed, more people come in and there's about five other, I'm going to just say middle class white people effectively that are very similar to me, all dressed in suits. And then you have about 7 to 10 roadmen, all dressed in not suits, and then you have a lot of Muslim guys that are kind of, I'm going to say, more dressed casually, like jeans, t-shirts. Some rode, I don't think any of them were in suit and tie. Anyway, this place is deadly quiet. No one's speaking, no one knows what's going on, and we're waiting for, we're going into these different meetings with the people that run the course to kind of learn about it. And so, as hours passes and no one speaks, at one point, one of the roadmen guys looked up, right? He looks up and he looks at me and he goes to me, "Where you man from?" To which I go, "Oh, okay." Conversation started. Oh, I didn't say that. That would have been very awkward. I went to him, "Oh, I'm from the town over." There's like one town over and that's where I'm from. So he's like, "Oh, okay, I know people from there." And then what happens is one of the other roadmen, they're not friends, right? They don't know each other. He overhears where this guy, let's call him Brad, where Brad's from, and he goes, "Oh, I know my man's from the ends, like whatever." And so they start talking, we're all talking, and we're kind of like doing this thing of learning where we're sizing each other up and learning where they're from. And there's this attitude difference clearly between the very middle class people and the roadmen people. Now, the roadmen people had this quite, I'm not going to say aggressive because it wasn't aggressive. It was like this standoffish demeanor, right? They didn't want to seem too friendly. They just wanted to talk, and really it felt like they were sizing us up and trying to work out what we were like. And then you had the middle class goobers, and we were all kind of like trying to be really polite and nice. "Oh yeah, I'd love to be from the," I don't know what we'd say. We'd just be kind of like really trying to be polite and nice. We weren't trying to be cool. I just want to say as well, the roadmen people were kind of, it was like a mix of white and black dudes, right? So there's us white middle class guys, and then there's these guys, and there's a very clear difference in where we come from. And what was interesting, right? This room was filled with these different cultures, as I'm mentioning. This arrangement of people is an arrangement you would never find in any situation ever on Earth. Would you find middle class people sat with roadmen, sat with sort of Muslim groups that were very insular, that didn't really mix with lots of people? You would never find that. And yet here we were, all in one room, forced to talk. And something very interesting happens in that situation. You start to have genuine curiosity about those people. Because you go in and you have all your judgments, right? If I see a roadman and he's wearing North Face and he looks like a gangster, my previous experiences of that would be some guy trying to mug me by the shops, right? Never did get mugged, by the way. Just putting that out there. That was always my preconception. So I'm not going in there thinking he's going to like me, right? And so you go in like that, but over time, because you know that you're about to spend a year with this person, you're not trying to make it awkward, because that's not good for anyone. So we start, working each other out, and we start listening to their stories. And my God, some of the fucking stories these guys had of their upbringing. Like, I knew a guy who said he saw this crackhead trying to kill another crackhead whilst he was selling them drugs, and he had to, I don't want to say because I don't want to criminalize, whatever the word is, incriminate him, but basically he had to deal with it. And then people telling me about selling drugs, fights, and then you're kind of working out, okay, the reason they're here is because of ASBOs, right? So ASBOs is effectively, you get a thing called an antisocial behaviour order. It's typically when you're under 18, you've done a crime, and you are now having to do some sort of community service, or just show the government effectively that you're trying to not be a gangster. And so one of these guys had a tag around his ankle. It meant he couldn't go stay out beyond 10 or 11 o'clock. And effectively they had been done for crimes. One of them got caught. He told me he got rugby tackled by police and he had loads of drugs in his underwear. And effectively, yeah, these guys, dude, I'm just sorry, my brain's just going now, but one of them had a slit across his face from looked like a damn villain out of a film. Literally, these people, I can't get over it. Anyway, they're telling us these stories, and at first you're a bit like, what the fuck? And then as time passes, you're really genuinely curious about their world, because it's so different, right? The only times I'd have experienced roadmen were being mugged or in films, so you don't know what they're really like, and you start working out a few really key things about them. Firstly, I'm going to start with is their level of banter. Their level of comedy is damn near genius. They are so fucking funny. It's unbelievable, and I don't know what it is. I don't know why being road made them funny. I think some of it was, so as I say, it was black and white dudes that were the roadmen guys, but some of them I've always noticed in past, whenever I've hung out with black people growing up, they just have a very charismatic, typically very charismatic sense of humour. It's very infectious. They're very I would say not very self-conscious, which is very freeing. It means that they can just have jokes that they aren't worried, is the joke gonna land? Am I laughing too much? Whereas I feel like the middle class people, you come from a background where if you're in the shops with your friends, you're not belly laughing. You're maybe having a little joke together. But these guys didn't give a fuck. They didn't care about all of that. They just, if they were with their mates, someone made them laugh, they would be belly laughing, or benning, as they would say. And you would just their humour was so funny, and it really actually rubs off on you in a way that you become like them. It's so infectious, you start absorbing that charisma, because it's freeing to not give a fuck in public, laughing with your friends. And I've definitely kept that to this day, that I feel like when I'm with my mates, I act the same way with my mates in public as I did with these guys, just big laughter, having fun anyway. So that was one of the things. The banter was crazy, and sometimes it was harsh. Their roasting each other was harsh. It was genius. The level of geniosity in their jokes was wild. That was one part. The second part, and I think I can bridge this quite well together. So sometimes the banter could tap into a bit bullying. It could get a bit bullying. And that would happen. Typically, there was an autistic guy on the course, and he often became the butt of a lot of jokes. And there was a line, I felt like there was a line where they wouldn't cross, but sometimes you would, and it would get a little bit fucked up. Effectively, and I'm going to try and bridge this nicely. The second point is that they're very finely tuned to respect and disrespect. So if I'm talking to them and showing them respect, they will pick up on that. They're almost like dogs. Like, that's probably not a good way of putting it, but they're like dogs in the fact that when dogs sniff each other's asses, they're like sizing up, okay, is this person cool or is he not cool? And they do this thing where they really size you up quickly, and they can really work out if you're full of shit, if you're a dickhead, or if you're a nice person trying to just get along. They can work that out within seconds. And so this was the thing. If you showed them respect, they would show you endless respect back. Respect and integrity was a very key part. One of them said that if someone attacked me or stabbed me or something, they would jump in and protect me and get involved. Right? That is a wild thing. I don't think I could... There's definitely people I would jump in and risk my life to save, but someone I met on an IT course is probably not that person. But they really valued me in the sense that I showed them respect and we got along. And bearing in mind, I'm a dweeby, nerdy white kid, stuck up, middle class probably in their eyes, and yet they're showing me respect because I showed them respect. The other side was the disrespect. If you showed them any ounce of disrespect, that was intolerable. There would be fights. There was people kicked off the course. This one dickhead, there was a guy who, like, within 3 weeks of being on the course, ended up leaving because a big fight broke out because he came in just being an obnoxious dick and trying to bully this, particularly the autistic guy, a lot. He was just trying to, like, overly alpha everything. He was trying to be the leader, and it didn't work because they weren't having any of that shit. Big fight broke out. I heard a knife got pulled or some shit, and then he was kicked off the course. The other thing is, like, when we would go to a chicken shop, this was one that would always stand out to me, is like, when I'm going to a chicken and chip shop, which is your standard Roadman lunch, chicken, chips, garlic mayo, a can of KA, perfect lunch, I'll be honest. When I'm walking there, I'm happy as Larry, I'm having a good day, it's sunny. These guys are a bit more like, you can see there's tension. They're looking, they're eyeballing everyone. Brad would often, if we're in like a chicken shop, he would look at people. He was a very sociable guy, but he would look at people and be like, yeah, bruv. Yeah, bruv. Like, he would be trying to check out that no one in that room was going to, it felt like going to stab him. That was kind of it. And he would like work people out, and he'd be very chatty, very friendly to the boss man. That's always what he'd say, like, yeah, boss man, to the guy behind the thing. Very sociable guy, but respect was so integral to him, to all of them. Anyway, yeah, so I'm not going to tell you the whole story. I'm just going to give you the outline. So the year was very interesting. There was lots of fights. But this kind of like coming together was fascinating. I felt like I really genuinely connected with these guys, and they brought me out of my shell, and they made me feel more confident as a guy. Like, I say that about me having banter with my friends. I feel like I carry some of what I gained from those guys to this day. And, like, I don't know where they're at now. I know one of the guys had kids, and it was interesting, actually. He said that was one of the best decisions he'd ever made. It made him mature. But, yeah, I don't know where they're at. I'm sure that some of them probably ended up back in sort of criminal worlds. I know for a fact one did. There's a part of me that just really fucking hopes there's a good story that come out of it. Because this was the thing I really noticed. These guys were just good people who were forced to grow up in a fucked up situation. And a lot of these guys were, as I say, extremely charismatic, extremely confident, competent people. Their drug businesses were impressive. How much money they'd made at a young age was impressive, despite immoral, potentially. But yeah, it was impressive. And they had skills, but it just felt like, unfortunately, they grew up in the wrong situation, and they didn't have the right fucking facilities around them to find their skills, their talents, and push them. I'm so blessed by my family, by God, by the people around me, that I have people that supported me, and the facilities and access to good education. Even if I did get kicked out of college, I just had the right role models around me. And it was sad to see these guys, who really were good people at their heart, and just kind of, like the fucking beaten dog. If you beat a dog can be the best fucking thing on earth. It can be the nicest, most beautiful animal on earth. But if you beat it every day and treat it like shit, it will bite you. And it felt like these guys were just, unfortunately, grew up in the wrong situations. And yeah, I really honestly hope and pray that these guys are doing well now. I like to think they are, just because it makes it makes for a nice story in my head. But yeah, truthfully, probably there are some that are, their lives didn't go that great. Anyway, that was my story of the Roadmen. I'd be really interested in hearing your personal stories. They might not be as nice as mine. Mine was interesting. But yeah, tell me about it. Comment below. Subscribe to the channel. Peace.